Hello, and welcome back to Finding Your Way for the NAFC. I'm Lucas Catton. And as you may be aware, this month is Women's History Month. And the NAFC has been celebrating that so far throughout the month. And also, just earlier this week, it was International Women's Day. So, in continuing and keeping up with that theme, I thought that this episode we would talk about celebrating women. And the topic that I think of when celebrating women, not just in history and not just today, but is about balancing the feminine energy in the world, especially in leadership positions. You may or may not be aware that the NAFC is a women-led organization, proudly so. And there are many more women leaders in different countries throughout the world, in different businesses, in different religions, in many different capacities where there is starting to become more of a balance of this feminine energy. And I think that's an important thing. And in doing so, I think if we take a look at and how can we celebrate women in our lives who have been important contributors to where we are today, whether that's immediately you think of your mother or your grandmother or sister or an aunt or your daughter or a niece or a neighbor or a friend, a girlfriend, your wife, etc. There are so many different wonderful women in our lives today whom we should be able to celebrate, not just during Women's History Month or not just on International Women's Day, but every day. And taking a look at balancing this feminine energy, a lot of people actually don't realize that we all have masculine and feminine energy, just like we all have masculine and feminine hormones, testosterone and estrogen. And the balance of those determines, how much masculinity or femininity we have. And by bringing more of this caring, nurturing side of the feminine energy to the world, to leadership positions, to other influencing roles, both in our social fabric, as well as to business and learning institutions and religion and all these different ways that we can influence, especially our children growing up in the world, and show and be a good example and balance out the masculinity and the femininity, then I think the better off we all will be going forward. So I invite you to take a moment and take a look at some of the important women you have had in your life or who may be in your life today to make sure and recognize them. And maybe take a moment to read about a prominent woman in society today who may be in a field that you're interested in, or potentially one in history or anything like that. And for example, I picked up a book that just came out by Mae Musk, who now in her 70s has really done a lot of different things. And she talks about stories and adventures in her life, including raising 3 children, all who have had wonderful stories themselves, one of whom you may have heard about, Elon Musk, who was recently named the world's richest person. So as one example of being able to celebrate, a woman who has had such a positive influence in the world as a whole, she's one example. So again, invite you to take a look and see what women now and in the past and in the future you can celebrate, and how we can bring more feminine energy to the world to bring more healing, to bring more nurturing and more balanced guidance going forward. That's all I have for this episode of Finding Your Way for the NAFC. I'm Lucas Catton. Until next time, take care.